Oh, welcome back to Gaggling Broads. How are you doing today, Amy?
Good.
Good. I'm doing okay.
I think we had too much caffeine.
Oh, we're all hyped up. Like I'm yawning, but I'm like also feel like I could run a marathon.
I'm debating on having a Zin.
Not the Zen. I might cop one later. No, after work, I'm like, okay, I think I need an energy drink because I usually have one like every day or a coffee, and I went all day without one, and now I'm gonna regret this. I'm gonna regret it because tonight I'm not gonna sleep. I already know it. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. Anyways, you guys, this episode is gonna be a little bit different today. It's gonna be a little bit more on the serious side, but all good things. We have Mental Health Awareness Month approaching in May. So that's what this episode's going to be about, mental health and just kind of like bringing awareness and talking about the things that people have a hard time talking about or, don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about. For me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think a lot of people talk about mental health, but I don't think people really kind of
Dive
talk
into
about
it.
it or like the reality or whether
Right.
it's a loved one, yourself, and like there is various degrees of it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, I don't know, I just notice whenever I hear people talk about what they go through or a loved one, I kind of go, you kind of can relate to it in a weird way.
Yeah, definitely.
Or you never know who could relate and kind of go, okay, I'm not alone.
Right. I mean, there's been several times where I've brought up, like my anxiety or just anything really. And I feel like I've connected to so many people just being honest about, my problems as far as anxiety or even like depression a little bit. You just never know who you're going to reach.
Yeah.
You never know who you are going to impact or who can like relate to you. I've had so many people tell me like, oh, like I would never have guessed that you struggle with anxiety or you have dealt with depression, but definitely things I deal with, especially the anxiety, on almost a daily basis.
Well, and I think too, like you've said it before, talking, like doing this, you're like, this is something I would never do.
Yeah, like it's so funny because we're on episode, I don't even know.
13?
Is it 13?
I'm pretty sure it's 13.
Okay, we're on episode 13, and it's so funny because I thought by now, like, I would be A-okay, no anxiety, no anxiousness, like, ready to go. But I just, like, hype myself up and get, like, in my head before each episode, and I think that, like, I really think that's anxiety. So,
for
like,
sure.
I have to talk myself through it and just realize, like, I'm my own worst enemy. I get in my head, and it's so funny because if I didn't do that, I'd be perfectly fine. But that's just part of dealing with, anxiety.
What do you think you're anxious about?
I don't know. I think it's just what I put out there and I overthink everything. So I think about every little detail of everything and how it's going to sound or how I'm going to look or what might go wrong or what, like things I ultimately have no control of. Like whatever happens. Like I can't control every little detail of everything,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like it also kind of like it's the world we live in as well. Like there's just so much happening and so you kind of want to feel like you have control and you don't always. You a lot of the time don't.
Well, and a lot of things you can't control.
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of just like do what you need to do, be a good person, and, just go with the flow, I guess.
That's true.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I just want to talk, like dive into mental health and kind of just discuss the things that aren't typically discussed and that people feel like, they don't hear on a daily basis.
I think I agree.
Because I think it is becoming mental health and all the things that come with mental health are being discussed more like now than they used to be, but still I think not enough.
It's almost like I feel like it's so talked about. It's almost like diluted, if that makes sense. Like where everything gets labeled mental health when necessarily maybe it's some stuff isn't. So there's people who really are struggling with something and they don't feel like I've noticed it's like, hey, like I deal with anxiety, and you'll hear someone immediately go, oh yeah, me too. But then they won't, you know, there's no connection there. And you go, well, and it's horrible to assume like, well, maybe that person doesn't have anxiety, maybe.
Right.
But I just feel
people
like
throw it out there so fast and so easily, especially, and it's not just anxiety. Like people will say, oh, it's my ADHD, or, oh, you know, sorry, I have OCD. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a lot of mental health, you know, disorders or things that people throw out there. And it's almost like not trendy, but kind of like, I mean, in a sense,
for me, it hits a little, oh man, I hope this isn't what cancels us immediately. But for me, I think this year, I've noticed a lot of people on social media, adults, saying, oh, I just got diagnosed with autism.
Okay.
And I go,
you're right.
I just kind of go like, you know, that's kind of like my family's world.
Yeah.
And I kind of look at it when I hear these things, like, obviously it's a spectrum. It's huge. Mm-hmm. So many variations.
Yeah.
I totally understand it. But there's just that weird thing in the back of my head. I'm like, I really hope this isn't a trend for attention, because there's so many people who
truly struggle and have been diagnosed. And
correct. And it's like, obviously, you know, the shows like on Netflix are absolutely great. Like Love on the Spectrum and all that. It's showing like, yes, you can be, I hate the term higher functioning, but like you can be a functional member of society. And then you have a lot of on the spectrum that, you know, need more help.
Right.
So I think, to me, when I look at it and they label mental health as also autism in the spectrum, like there's a part of me that goes like, man, like I just hope this isn't a trend of like, I'm going to say I have this because X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I hate the feeling of this material, I must have autism. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
That's my pet peeve, where I'm like, no, there's got to be more degrees.
There's more, right.
More boxes
there's
have
more
to be
to
checked.
it. Yeah.
And granted, let's just face it, we all can be on the spectrum.
Honestly.
My fear and anger of wearing socks, yes. Like, I just go, but I would never, ever say like, I think I said, there's just parts of me, and I feel the same way when I hear about some depression and all this, where I go, I just hope people are being really truthful and genuine. Because there's a lot of people that go through these things.
Right.
And I don't want help, not like, it's like they're taking their place in line for help. You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. And I feel like you said, it kind of gets diluted. And then people are, you know, they're like, wait a minute. So if all these people struggle with it, but then they, you know, don't like appear to, or they, whatever, then it's kind of harder for people who really do struggle to like find a connection. Because or they're lumped in with people, you know, that could be doing it for attention. It's like, that's not fair. Exactly.
Where it's like, oh, everyone has anxiety.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting
depressed.
at. Yeah.
Oh, no big deal. Like, and then it's like, hey, take these supplements, you're good. It's like, no, like there's like, I don't know. I think that's what's sad. I noticed recently where I'm like, we are talking a lot about mental health, but I'm worried that maybe some of it, like, I don't want people feeling like they're not really being heard.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I think that mental health is huge, and it's something, I don't know. It's something I know, of course, everyone has dealt with, you know, hard times and hard moments and big life, you know, moments that have impacted or affected them in a negative way. But I think, I don't know, for me, what has really made me open my eyes to like the world of mental health and want to become so much more involved and be kind of like an advocate, was I actually lost my brother in 2016 to suicide. And it's crazy because before that happened, like you never think that, you know, think about people losing someone to suicide. Mm-hmm. you're in your own world and you don't feel like that would ever happen to you or affect you. But when it hits you, you realize like this is a thing that so many people go through and deal with. Like, there's people who take their lives every single day. And it's I don't know, it changed my world, opened my eyes, and it really made me just like kind of interact with people differently, treat people differently, like want to be better and like live my life, as like cliche as it may sound, to the fullest. And you just pay attention more to how you go about your day and your life, because there are people who are struggling around you probably every day that you don't even realize. And for my brother, like that was the situation. Like no one knew that he was going through depression. No one knew he had those thoughts. So it was like very shocking when he did take his life. And it was crazy because he was literally like one of those guys who just lit up a room. And he was everyone's friend, and he was good at everything he tried. He was good at literally everything. He was super athletic. He was like a ladies' man. He was good at everything. So when that happened, people were taken back and they were shocked. And it was crazy. But for me, it's kind of like that's exactly why you have to take mental health seriously, like treat people around you better, and realize like you just never know.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And like, I think you kind of touched on it. I think a lot of people with those thoughts usually do it in silence. And are ashamed of those thoughts. And I think that's what's hard for a lot of people, where they don't know what to do. Or like how to help, or
I think it can be like a pride thing,
right,
like you said. And so if a lot of people have these feelings like, oh, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts make me weak, make me less of a person. Like, I don't need the help. I can handle this on my own. I think that's a really big thing that keeps people from talking about it or seeking help, in my opinion, and just from what I've seen and what I've kind of like. Yeah, but no, I've talked to a lot of men who they express like talking about feelings, emotions, struggles is, hard for them, and that they grew up a certain way where like men are tough, men are this way, like, you don't talk about those kind of things. And I just want to say, like, I want to put it out there that it doesn't make you less of a person. It doesn't make you less masculine. It doesn't make you less of a person if you talk about those things or seek help, because we are all only human. That's our little saying for the year. And we all go through things and need help.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, not speaking for all guys, but I feel like men, I think their childhood, as far as like who their example is, as far as like the male figure in their life or emotions, I think they kind of carry that with them. So if like they had a dad that wasn't emotional, or a dad that was a certain way, like that's what they know for an example.
Right.
So, I mean, or you can go the opposite where they go, oh, my dad was overly emotional, so therefore I'm not going to be that. So I kind of feel for the guys a little bit, because I think they it's not their choice, but their upbringing like just sticks with them a little bit more than women, if that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, from what I've seen and like just from, the people I've talked to, I feel like that is true. Like I definitely agree with you. I don't know why that is, but it does seem to be that way.
I don't know if women are able to like, I don't know. I'd like to say we're just resilient, but I feel like, I don't know if it's like just a different type of an emotional, I don't know.
Maybe, because I mean, men, their emotions, I feel like, are a little bit different from us. Like they are, but they aren't. So maybe how they, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I don't know if we're women are just like, nature wise, like we're more nurturing.
Yeah.
So there's just like different component of like that feeling of we have to take care of people in a nurturing way. And men are in that mode of like, I need to provide.
Yeah.
And then,
and when
they
you're a
see
provider
examples.
and
Yeah,
you
it's
have to like
different.
take care and protect, then it kind of puts you, I guess, I don't know, in that headspace where you feel like you have to be more tough and you feel like you kind of have to
Right.
be less emotional,
Right. For survival.
Yeah, exactly. And that like that goes back to like the beginning of times,
Right.
I'm sure.
Well,
So
I mean, everybody wants to argue, but like, yeah, we are different from guys in like the way of thinking too.
oh, for sure. Yeah.
Especially, and we're way more emotional, but,
Yes. We are emotional creatures.
but like, yeah, I kind of feel for guys. Cause like, if you talk to certain guys and you go, okay, this is starting to make more sense of why you see things the way you do or why your emotions are. And I think another big thing I've noticed recently, is a lot more people. I mean, obviously it's been always self-medicating, but like I've noticed with booze that your emotions on how you are kind of come out when you drink.
Yeah, booze. And I mean, let's not stop there. I feel like obviously other things too, like marijuana, like other drugs, like anything that, any type of substance, I feel like usually will bring out those emotions more and kind of change like reality for you in that moment.
Yeah, because like, there's, we always joke and it's always online. You see, it's like, do you drink for taste or like to get drunk? And I always joke, I'm like, why am I drinking for taste? You're drinking for a feeling of something different. And
same here.
And like, I kind of, cause I don't drink anymore and everyone's like, oh, like I joke. I'm like, it's my 6th DUI. I'm like, no, it's not that. I don't know. My drinking just didn't feel good anymore, like physically. I just can't do hangovers anymore.
But I'm getting to that point. Oh my God.
Like I'm just a wuss. But like at the end of the day, I noticed if I had a couple glasses of wine, I kind of go weird. Either like I have weird anxiety thoughts or weird like thoughts in my head where I'm like doing a checklist, like, oh, what do I have tomorrow? Like it would just all of a sudden like trigger.
Like it doesn't like have a positive effect on your like mental health or your like anything really.
So then I just said, I'm like, this doesn't feel good anymore. Yeah. Why would I do this?
Like, what's it doing for you?
There's no benefit anymore.
Yeah.
Like, not to saying that it was a benefit, but like, it wasn't fun.
Right.
And I just kind of said, there's other things I can do. Like maybe, it's Arizona, things are legal. So it's just like, I just go like, that's different. I'm like, I just kind of noticed, I'm like, not for me anymore. And I'm fortunate enough that, I never had any problems at all, but like, I just kind of feel like, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it either, I feel like numbs some people's feelings and then it kind of becomes maybe addicting because it numbs those feelings. Or it does the opposite. Like you said, like it can heighten your emotions and your feelings. And then, it just kind of becomes like a negative way to deal with struggles or things you're, encountering.
Yeah.
So no, I'm getting to that point too, though. Like where just like I'm not enjoying it anymore, and I'm like, oh my God, like why am I doing this? Oof, this weekend took me out. But
I was say, like I had that one, that hangover I had.
Oh yeah,
that one hangover 2 years ago, and I don't think I've ever recovered. And I go, I don't.
Like, that was bad, but
it's just different, and I don't know. It kind of just makes me sad because like I just know a lot of people that are kind of feeling the same way where it's like
for sure.
Hey, I drink because it helps me be social, and I go,
Yeah. I mean, while we're talking about like coping and stuff, like, some people will use like the alcohol and the drugs to try to cope, which isn't, the best thing to do, in my opinion. But what are like healthier ways that you cope with your anxiety or your stress when you're feeling like overwhelmed? What helps you? What works for you?
Well, if you ask my husband, he knows exactly. I'd be like, I need to go take a bath.
Oh, I was gonna say probably
like,
a bath.
I need to take a bath,
like a candle.
Right. I just need alone time. But
some of those mini tacos.
Oh, those were so good.
Yeah,
DoorDash Taco Bell.
Taco Bell in the bath.
Oh yeah. There's nothing like that.
I feel like that's a good deal.
I think I always hate saying I have anxiety or anything because I'm fortunate enough to know mine's completely situational.
Okay.
Mine is if I'm in a situation I can't exit from quickly. So my ultimate would be the airplane.
Oh,
So
yeah. You're
I'm
not
up
good
in the
with flights.
no, and it's has everyone's like, oh, you're afraid of crashing. I'm like, nope.
Nothing like that. What is it?
It
I don't
is-
think I even know.
So like the whole process of flying, let's just put it. We'll just do the whole thing.
Okay.
Getting in security, knowing I have to get through this line to go to the next step of getting on the airplane, tells me if I instantly start. So like my anxiety, when I have an anxiety attack, I instantly feel like I need to puke or faint. And if I were to do that in public, that's embarrassing, number one, but they're not going to let you on the plane
If you faint.
or puke
if
they see it. And so in my head, I go, I have to get through security. And then
so you,
my
like,
palms get
work
sweaty.
yourself
I
up.
literally start holding my breath. And then I get through security. Now I go, got that over with. Now
But then you're on the plane thinking, oh.
And then I'm on the plane and I instantly go, I can't leave this situation until we land.
Until you're completely off.
And so luckily, I will say what's different now traveling with kids. It's not anxiety. It's just fear that people are judging me for my kids just throwing a fit. But my other big one is concerts and sporting events, because if I'm in a middle section of like the seats and not sitting on the aisle, I can't excuse myself to go to the bathroom to go like calm down for a minute. It is a crazy thing, but it took years to figure out because I was young.
Okay.
When I started having these issues, it was just weird. It just out of nowhere happened.
Okay.
And I went through therapy. Obviously, you know, this was the mid 2000s, so they were just handing out, you know, antidepressants like no other and anti-anxiety.
Yeah.
And I kept telling like the therapist and the doctor, I'm like, I don't have that.
Yeah.
And then of course, beautiful, like, you know, PRN Xanax. And, you know, for anybody that's ever had one, they're fabulous.
Okay.
I'm not going to sugarcoat. That's why they're
I've
so
never-
addictive.
Yeah, I know they are. They're like literally. Side note, like I heard the most addicting.
They're also like one of the worst things to come off of.
Or maybe that's what it was. Like the worst. Thing to
And so like in my head, it was my early 20s, and I'm like, you know, going through school, and you know, I moved to Arizona. You know, I had a relationship that didn't go well, and I just, in my head, I go, oh, cool. Like the doctor says this is okay, so I'm just going to follow orders. But I realized like I didn't need it.
Right.
I was just prescribed it, and it was just like taking away the edge, and it makes you feel just completely content.
Yeah.
And of course I was at college. So of course, you know, I'm drinking at ASU.
Oh God.
So
and
just
you're not
add
supposed
that.
To be drinking
no.
on that, huh?
And dumb and naive. And then I realized, you know, I went to therapy. I just went to a psychologist because I go, you know what? I think it's situational. I don't need a psychiatrist.
Right.
I got off of it because I instantly was like, I don't think this is me.
Okay.
Like, I don't think.
Like you didn't feel yourself on it?
No.
Okay. And I hear that a lot.
And
it kind of like, does it dull you out?
It does. And I noticed if I didn't take it the next day, the withdrawal feeling would happen. Like the migraine would happen.
Oh, and we don't want that.
And so thankfully it was only like only 2 years. That sounds awful, but it wasn't a crazy dose. Please, nobody think that. It was like a spit of a dose.
Okay.
But I just remember going through therapy and realizing, I'm just talking these things through, and it is just completely situational.
Okay.
When I can't control my exit.
Okay. So it's not like it wasn't an everyday thing. It was just certain events.
And school was a really hard thing, like doing a board exam.
Okay.
That was like the craziest level of fear I had, because I knew I couldn't leave that room, or else they wouldn't, you know, you get a 0. So like it was like a lot, but I just realized the tools for coping, it was like I kind of created a mantra in my head.
Okay, like
where it's like, hey, think about things you have accomplished and you did it and you made it through. Like get over it, Amy. Like,
okay.
Like it's like a mean pep talk, but then I kind of go, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Okay. So just being like that, you know, encouraging voice you need, like talking through it in your head, and not letting your thoughts control you.
And I think
the negative thoughts,
he's gonna instantly get a big head from this. And I think also having like, well, it was he was my husband at the time too, but like that support system where it's like, hey, if I ask you, can I vent for a second or just have a moment, and have someone be able to just sit and understand.
Yes,
huge difference.
Yeah.
So like, I
Okay.
think, I don't know. And over the years, like I said, I hate even saying I have anxiety because I go, there are people out there that have to manage every single day.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that's where my skepticism comes in when
Yeah,
people
it still
say, because
makes
I go,
sense, yeah.
I would never consider it.
Okay.
But I also am really sad because I think there are a lot of people that probably in my situation where maybe some talk therapy and like creating
Would help.
like a tool, like a toolbox of like how to get through an anxiety attack
Okay.
versus drugs.
Right. Yeah, I think that a lot of people don't have that outlet, or, you know, they're maybe nervous or afraid to talk to somebody. But for you, like, I'm glad that worked, and I'm glad
Yeah.
that you found that, because, you know, some people just don't realize that it is just they need a listening ear, or they just need someone to kind of give them pointers, like a licensed professional,
I
you know?
think to me it was someone that could ask the correct
Questions.
where you're
Okay.
like, oh,
Yep.
yep.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. There are different ways to handle, you know, mental health, anxiety, all of the things. Whatever you struggle with, there are different ways, different approaches. For me, it's so funny because I don't feel like I have it down yet. Like my anxiety, it's kind of like I'm slowly figuring out what to do to help me. But for me, I have found working out has changed the game. I feel like it just, for some reason, when I get a good workout in, it helps me like release like the just everything within me that isn't good. And I just feel so much more refreshed, and I get like that, you know, that boost of serotonin and all the good feelings. And then it kind of just doesn't become addicting, but it's like it feels good, so you want to keep doing it. And it's just been very, very helpful for me. I definitely feel a difference when I'm like not working out versus, you know, like I get more anxious. And then like you, like I'll talk to myself, like I'll like give you that little voice, and I'll try to like counteract like the negative voice in my head, and be like more of the positive self-talk, you know?
Yeah.
So I think those two things really help. But I was on some antidepressant years ago, and it was not for me. Oh, it was
And,
not
like,
for me. It completely changed my personality.
That's my thing. Like, they're made for a reason.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that have to be on
Have
it.
to be on them.
And it's just like it's just
But
like
it's
with
not for
anything. It's
everybody.
not for everybody.
And I feel like
it's-
doctors are just so quick to be like, oh, here's this or here's that, and not even consider.
when I look back at it, I was, what was that? 18, 19, 19, 20, whatever. So like I'm under 21 for sure. And I go, I never had a history of anything. And the first thing was, let's get you on an anti-anxiety and then a PRN at Xanax.
Oh, God.
And I just kind of go,
Like a double whammy.
right. And this is when I was a healthy, like in shape.
Right. So not one thing, but two things.
Right.
That's what you were
right. And then
saying?
you gave
Okay.
me something that feels good, which would, like, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm invincible on this. But I don't
my
know. It's just stuff
God.
like that. Like, I wish there was more talk about, and I think there's a lot more coming out. Like,
There is.
where
I
it's
agree.
like different avenues of like, hey, like a lot more talk therapy. And I think a lot of people are afraid of therapy because I think the stigma about it is, I'm going to go there and they're going to make me talk about my past or my parents
Right.
or
They're going to like pry things out of you, and, you know, kind of like, it's almost like, I think some people feel an attack in a way, because they're going to like point out all of the things. But
or the fear of like, I don't want to get into that.
yeah,
Where it's like, how do I just move forward? And I think that's fair.
I think it's fair. Yeah. I do feel like for me, this is just me. I definitely have had things I've dealt with in my past that I haven't dealt with at all, like going forward. So like I dealt with them, but I didn't deal with them. So like I still have kind of like some of that trauma. And I feel and I'm willing to admit that, if I maybe talked about it and stuff, I would find a healthier way, like addressing it and then moving on. Because I feel like it's kind of still there. And I feel like that happens a lot with people. Like they think they took care of it, but it's still kind of there. Like, brushed under the rug, like deep under the rug,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a doctor or professional, but I feel like maybe maybe certain people can move on without addressing that or like the problem or dealing with the trauma. But for me, I feel like personally, there's things that I could, deal with, and then I would be completely.
I think
rid
because
of
I think
them.
people are able to just compartmentalize it. Wow, I said that word actually correctly.
You did. I can't say that word.
Okay.
I can't.
But like, it's just funny. You just made me kind of think about it. Cause yeah, like people, like let's just say working at the hospital, like you see, if you're working in a trauma hospital or ICU, like you see people come and go and die and horrific things
Yeah.
and watch people grieve like right there live. Like,
Yeah.
and you can go home and go on with your day. And
Right.
I just think some people just like have
Are like professional.
just built differently.
Yeah.
Where, we're not all the same.
That's fair.
And yeah, I just like I think there isn't one answer for everybody.
No. Yeah. We all definitely deal with things differently.
But I love that
and-
you said working out, because I also noticed, because a lot of people are like, oh, working out, I'm gonna have to go lift weights or do this. It's like, honestly, if you just throw some earbuds in and go for a walk and just breathe
Yeah,
fresh air,
even
look
that.
around,
Yes. Yes.
that's perfect.
Yep. I agree. It doesn't have to be full on like let's lift some like heavy ass weights or
Yeah.
let's, go boxing. It could
Right.
literally be a walk in the park or whatever.
and
like
I think,
even meditation, anything.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that doesn't help is we're just glued to our phone.
Oh boy. Yeah. That is a big one. I think honestly, I feel like that is the problem with like more like suicide, suicides and depression, all of that, with the numbers like spiking and stuff. I feel like social media is a big culprit.
You just made me think of this, and you can say if you don't want to answer it, that's fine.
Okay.
But how do you feel as like a family member when shows and TV, like let's just say 13 Reasons Why. I just remember when that was a big deal. Do you appreciate like the awareness, or do you feel like it's not depicted well, or do you think they should just not show it at all?
No, I remember when that came out, like I watched it all and I, for a while, like didn't know how I felt about it. Like I was just kind of had mixed emotions. But all in all, like I kind of, in the end I was okay with it. And I think it's good to put it out there because I don't recall ever seeing anything like that. Like that was like the first show or anything that I saw that kind of like showed what someone goes through, especially like a young, teenager, and what, like how that can lead to suicide.
Because I just remember when that came out, it was like all over talking about how it shouldn't be on because I forgot what
kind
they
of like
call
glorified it a little
it. It
bit.
made it like, what the heck is that term where it's like it's contagious? Like, if kids see this, they're gonna do it. I can't remember the word, but no, I just kind of thought where I'm like, well, I don't know how I feel if I was a family member watching that.
I don't know. I feel like I definitely could have like a stronger opinion on it. But I just don't. I feel like in my opinion, it was fine. A lot of the things I saw, are things people really go through and like real life things. So why
kind of crazy looking back at, I think it was 3 seasons. They kind of touch based on every single scenario that could probably happen. And there was a couple on there. I'm like, well, that's pretty accurate.
Yes,
like,
exactly. And that's why like I feel okay about it because I don't feel like it was sugar coated. I feel like it was pretty spot on.
Yeah.
So yeah, but social media, back to that, like I just think there's a lot that comes with being on social media. It can be a positive place and it can also be a negative place. For me, like for myself, I take at least like You know I do this.
Oh, all your breaks?
Yes. Like people like laugh at me, but I'm like, I don't care.
Oh, I don't laugh. I just I only laugh because you're like, I'm gonna do it for like a month,
Yeah,
and I'm
and
like,
then I'm
I'll see you in a
back.
week.
Right. Yeah, you know me too well. But it does help. Like I do try to take a couple of breaks throughout the year just to like kind of, reset and be in my own world and not be so glued to my phone. But
I think everybody notices, like when you go on a vacation or whatever, and you don't have your phone for a little bit, you feel better.
you do.
Like even if you're not on social, you just feel better.
Yeah, you do. It's just like I like to do it because I do feel cleansed, and then when I get back on, it's so crazy because I'm like, why am I back on here? Like I just all like instantly feel anxious, and I feel the pressure's already seeping in.
Yeah. It's funny because so I have my personal Instagram and I go through my feed and I go, oh
yeah, your 5 different Instagrams. I'm just kidding. I think how many is there?
You act like I'm like catfishing people, but like I'll go through my personal feed and I notice it's very different than the Gaggling Broads feed. The Gaggling Broads feed is very much happy, supportive, or funny.
Okay.
And then I go to mine and it's very much the opposite of like, whatever is going on in society, like, and it's just like negative, negative, negative. And I go, wait a second.
It's not even because like, oh, like that's stuff you look for. Like it's maybe just because why? Like it doesn't, you click on something and then it kind of creates that. So it doesn't matter if that's not like what you like to look at. You click on a few things and then from that point on, it kind of just starts bringing those things
and then
up.
I notice like I'll just be on the Gaggling Broads page and that's where I find like cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to mine like once a day to see like the DMs and like to like family stuff. But I will never go through that feed again because I instantly go, oh, this is making me actually feel something where I'm like, this isn't a positive thing.
No. And it's so scary.
All clickbait too.
It is. It's just crazy to me that like a screen can have such a big impact and effect on you. Even
the light.
The light.
Like, the lighting. Like on the phone, the blue light.
Oh, that light. Yeah.
I noticed like I could just be crazy. So you can put it to like the dark setting where it eliminates the blue light. And it supposedly actually helps because I guess something I probably read on TikTok. It said like the blue light actually affects your natural melatonin production.
No, you're right. I literally, I've heard that from so many different people.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, if you're gonna like lay in bed, don't be on your phone because you are not gonna. Yeah. No, I think that's valid. Like I've literally heard that from several different people, several different. Can't talk. Several different places. And also, I realize when I'm not on my phone, like I've started to put it away like 45 minutes before bed, then I feel like I sleep better. Maybe it's just in my head.
And you know what, though? Like that also ties into our mental well-being, too. Like when you don't sleep,
oh gosh,
it's miserable.
Yeah. I have to have at least 8 to 12 hours a night.
Oh, man, I could just hit you. My thing is as long as I have 4 consecutive hours, I can live off of that.
That's wild. No way. I will call off of work if I don't get. They're probably my coworkers are probably listening. Sorry guys. Yeah, no, I won't function if I don't get 8 hours of sleep. I will not function, right? I won't be here. I will be a complete zombie. So, but you're right. That does definitely tie into mental health, all the good stuff. Yeah.
What do you think? Because I got to talk to you about it. Because you and your family, like clearly, did your anxiety, was it always there or was it after your brother, you think?
Okay. So I have always had anxiety like my whole life. But it definitely got worse after that. And for my poor mother, which she's very open about, all of this. So that's why I bring her up, but she, definitely after his death experienced like a huge amount of anxiety. And I don't think she ever really dealt with that before. So now it's more, I want to say like you It's more for her situational, as far as like her kids go. So like me and my two other siblings, she has a lot of anxiety around us. So she always wants to make sure we're okay. She checks in with me all the time, which I love her and I appreciate her for that. Because a
Yeah.
lot of people, like sometimes I'll get annoyed, but I have to remind myself, like, how lucky am I to have like someone who cares and checks on me
Right.
that much, right? But yeah, it's definitely like she has to know what we're doing. She has our locations. Like, if anything, like I say, I have to be careful about what I say, like as far as like emotions or moods or anything, because she'll take it very seriously and to heart. So, I think for her, it's definitely with my brother passing, it's shifted a lot. Like her mind, her thoughts.
Yeah.
She has the anxiety now, but for me, I've always dealt with. Unfortunately, always dealt with that.
Have you done therapy and all that before, or have you seen that it helped, or
I haven't. Isn't that
what?
crazy? I know. I haven't done it. And it's because I haven't. This is probably a bad reason, but it is a bad reason. But I haven't had insurance for like a really long time. I just finally got it, by the way. But it's expensive to get therapy. And like, I don't want to say like that's a good reason to not seek
think-
therapy or
oh
get
my
the
gosh.
help. But for me, like I've justified it in my head.
It
like,
was expensive with insurance.
right. So,
But I know oh my gosh, there's ads for it all the time.
the BetterHelp.
Yeah, and I know
Sorry.
like that's the like cash base. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much it is.
My friend tried that out, and I mean, obviously, like we said, something or different things work for different people, but she didn't like it. She wasn't a fan. I feel like she didn't like it, but she's seeing someone in person and she loves them. So I think it depends on who you are, what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But it was still a pretty penny. Like, they advertise it as like, oh, like this is affordable, blah, still pretty expensive. But yeah, like, I mean, that is something I haven't tried and I'm definitely like open and I'm wanting to. It's just, I feel like I'm only human. I've prioritized other things maybe I shouldn't have in front of that. And honestly, like how sad when I say that out loud, like we should be prioritizing our mental health before most things.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have good mental health, then what is there, If I would tell my mom this all the time and I need to practice what I preach, but you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anyone or anything else.
That's very true. And it's like your mom, I can totally understand where it's like she just puts that energy into protecting her kids now.
Yeah, and
And
she serves people too. Like
Yeah.
she literally is like always looking for someone to help, and I think she has found like helping people and serving others and doing things like that has helped with her, her mental health, her anxiety. Like literally after, just to go back to losing my brother again, when he passed, like she had to find a way to kind of not distract herself, but find a way to move on with life.
Yeah.
And because I feel very easy to kind of get stuck in a dark place, so she had to find a way to move on with life. And she's always been stay-at-home mom, which is a hard job. But now all her kids, even in 2016, were grown, doing their own things. So she had to find something to distract her, but also to move on with everything. And she started serving, people in the church. And she actually started creating little like gift baskets for people who have lost their children.
Oh my gosh.
And just putting like things that helped her move on with my brother in these baskets. And it was shocking because you would think, I need to seek out these people, like how many people possibly have lost their children around me that I can give this basket to. But she found many people.
Wow.
And she did that. And she still continues to do that. But she kind of just like devoted herself to that. And then also like diving more into like mental health awareness month and like doing things for that. Like she's done a bunch of cool things, but when you're in a dark place, I think it is super important to find something that you can do to get out of that dark place, whether it is.
And it seems like she
serving
went from, stay-at-home mom to now she wants to nurture others, and that's like her form of healing.
It is. Yeah. She said
like that's incredible, because I think a lot of people, I don't know if I would have that strength to be like, I lost a child and now I want to help others that lost their child. I think my fear would be like, that would just be a daily reminder.
Yeah.
But I think your mom probably does it because like she wants to help other people that have those feelings that she's having.
Yeah, I think
That's
is
incredible.
because she said what like really helped her move on from everything and find like a happy place again was having people reach out to her and check on her and give her, like people gave her books about, losing a loved one, or like they would send her prayers. They would do different things. And she said if it weren't for a lot of those people, even strangers, she probably wouldn't have moved on as fast as she did. Even though, she had like her family and that support, but like never underestimate like what other people can do, like even just through their words, like small actions. So that really helped her. And then I think she realized like, wow, if all like this person helped me this much and all of this helped me like move on and find, a way to keep going. Let me try to like reciprocate that and put that back out into the world and do that for other people.
No, and I think that's true. I think, we all know someone either that has lost, losing a child is just, I can't even imagine, and, or a loved one.
Yeah.
And I think there is this weird part of you of like, I don't know what to say or do for that person.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think that whatever you do or say is going to mean a lot.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, where it's like,
it does.
I think ignoring it kind of makes it worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like where it's like, oh, I don't know what to say, so I'm just going to ignore the whole thing.
And I think that some people who haven't experienced like poor mental health or have lost someone or understand like that world, they don't know exactly how to go about helping someone or being there for someone, or even like being in that space. But for me, like, I really appreciated anything during that time when I lost my brother. Like, whether it was like, I'm sorry for your loss, or whether it was like, oh, hey, like, I brought you this casserole and I love you and I'm here for you. Or I'm saying, you're in my prayers tonight. It doesn't matter. I think that as long as you can just let someone know you're thinking about them and you're there for them, that's big.
And I think, like I said, like that kind of just goes along with anything. Like I think, like just loved ones in your life, I think you should constantly remind them how much you mean to them.
100%.
And check in.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I feel bad because it's true. Like if you go to a funeral, I feel like for the next month, you're kind of on this weird energy of like, I'm going to live life to the fullest. I'm going to reach out to so-and-so. Let's get together. Let's do this. And then it's just like
kind of fades.
Life kicks back in and you just push things back to the
you
back
kind of
corner.
like lose sight a little bit
right.
of that. And that you can't, like, you don't maintain that same energy. And I feel like it's so easy, like for that to happen in any circumstance, you know? Whether it's that or, oh, like I'm like the gym, like, oh, I'm gonna like, oh, I feel so good in the gym. Like I'm gonna maintain this. Like it's all part of life. Like it's easy to kind of fall off of like a certain mindset. But for sure, I think it is important to check in with people, like, and just make sure like a small text, like a little dinner, whatever, it makes people feel good.
And I think too, like you see a lot more like stories getting out there about people who are suffering with like depression or suicidal thoughts or anything like that. And they'll always have a story of, hey, this was the lowest I've ever felt, but randomly someone called me and I literally was like, you know what? I think I might get help.
Yeah.
There's always some crazy little story where it's like, hey, this person was nice to me, weirdly reminded me that maybe.
Oh, yeah. I hear those all the time.
And I go like, if I don't know, I just go like, just be nice. It sounds
Be
so
a good human.
stupid to say that, but I just go, it is so much easier to be a decent human being, care about other people, and
then put negative energy out there.
Right, and it makes you feel good.
It does. It really does.
Like, do you ever know anybody that feels crappier when they help out a charity?
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Like, I just go, no, you feel better.
You feel better.
Like, get involved somehow. And like I've failed at that until like this year, definitely, where I'm like, I want to start saying yes to a lot more things and stop saying like, oh, I can't do that, or oh, blah, 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 that. Like,
right.
Because that doesn't help anybody. Who wants to be around that?
No, it's true. Yeah, I think it just kind of comes down to if we all are better to one another, like that can create such like a happier place to be and support and love. And it might sound corny to some people, it might sound whatever, but I do believe that, you can change, you can literally change someone's life by the way you carry yourself and how you treat them. Like you were saying, like I've heard so many stories. Well, I was gonna, and it sounds extreme, but life can be extreme. I was gonna take my life, but this person, they told me I look pretty in this, and then I didn't, or whatever. There's so many things that you just never know.
I kind of put it like this: just think about one of your lower days or whatever, and you think, how did I feel if someone treated, like we all have those moments where we go, I remember the day I felt bad because so-and-so said this to me and it made me feel this certain way. Yeah. And you go, can you imagine if that interaction didn't happen that way?
Yeah.
I look at it too, like as a mom with your interaction with your kids, think back of when you were little and how your memory works. Everything you do should never, like I look at it like, is this how my kid's going to remember me?
Yeah.
Like, did I need to yell at that time?
Yeah.
No, probably not. But like, and I think another one, like we kind of talked about as parents, it's like, you also need to show your kids a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And I think, you forget those things because the day is long and it's hard. And, the last thing in your mind's like, oh, let's make sure we hug in front of our kids and, show them later when we're like cleaning and doing all that. But like they're watching. So it's like mental health starts when you're little.
It does. I mean, the littlest, smallest things, can affect your mental health. And so you just have to be mindful. You have to be mindful.
And I think sadly for all of us, I think we tend to look at the negative stuff that sticks out more than the positive stuff.
I know. I've always wondered that, like, why, like, for instance, when I get anxious about the podcast.
I know. We're about to go on. She's like, I can't wait for this episode on mental health. Hey, I'm anxious right now. And I go, okay.
But it's just so funny where I like think, okay, why do our minds naturally go to like, oh, what if this happens? Or, oh, like just negative. Why don't we think, oh, well, what if I do great? Or what if I win this? Or why don't we think more positively? I don't understand.
I weirdly think of the viral video a couple years ago of Dane Cook, and he described it where, what if anxiety, or no, shoot, now I'm going to mess this up.
Mess it up.
Where he goes, what if it is that feeling you're feeling, that anxiety and fear is because you're so close to doing something great. Like, what if you just tricked your brain where you're like, I'm so excited because I'm about to do this.
I love that. I never saw that, but I love
that. Well, I think he used, a lot of F this, but that's like, okay. It was basically like this anxiety and this fear, like this crazy visceral feeling I'm feeling just as a signal of like, I'm about to do something great and I'm so close to accomplishing it.
Okay.
Because what if it is?
Yeah. I feel like it could, like, you don't know. And you could definitely trick yourself. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, for this kind of anxiety, but like if you have anxiety and it's like debilitating, probably not that.
Probably
but
not, but I love that approach, like that.
Like getting up and doing a speech, getting up with that. You get it why. It's not like, if you really look at it, it's like maybe because you're like weirdly excited because you're like, I'm I know what I'm going to talk about. I'm prepared.
That's true.
But your brain goes, no, this must be a negative.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Kind of like a survival thing. Like,
It's like we all have had blood butterflies before.
Yeah.
Why do we associate that with being good?
that's true. I love that, Amy. I love
I'm
that.
not going to take my own advice, but like, yeah.
I'm going to take your advice. Thank you. Maybe I just need to talk to you.
Oh, okay. $85 a session.
You
That's
can
my
be-
flat rate for everything. 85.
Perfect. It's cheaper
No,
than anyone I found.
I don't know. Like I said, it sounds so cliche. I just think, oh gosh, especially women, let's just face it. I think if we all close our eyes as a woman and we think about if we ever were bullied or anything, it's always by another woman.
Yeah. I think about like 90% of any, yeah.
Like growing up as a kid,
Yeah,
it was other girls picking on you. And I go, we need to stop it. Because here's the thing, as women, we know what to say to make that person
really
upset.
dig deep.
Oh my gosh, a guy wouldn't know. Like,
Yeah.
and I think when you see it online, I'm like, we gotta stop. We have to stop women shaming. We have to stop. I'm like, even if you don't like the person, just don't say anything.
Yeah. No, I think that's a big thing. Because like those, I was going to say, like, it kind of ties into, for me, like self-image. You know, you don't forget like like we're a lot about physical looks, you know, like, because that is literally like what we learn from a young age. Like, you want to look pretty, you want to like be skinny, you want to this and that, and like it's just put in our face constantly, so we focus on physical a lot.
Yeah.
So then when someone like disses you, your physical appearance, or calls you a name, I think it can have a big impact on your mental health. Like for me, I was bullied a lot growing up. I was a chubby little kid and I was bullied. I was bullied for a really long time. Even by one of my family members, who I no longer speak to, but I don't remember. Or I mean, I do remember. I remember everything.
That's the concussion.
Yeah. It's kicking in. I remember like everything that I was ever told as far as like my physical, whether it was from that family member or like being bullied in school or whatever. Like that affects you. So
And like I said, look, you remember the negative.
Yeah.
You don't forget it. And I just, like I said, I remember I have the same size head since like freaking fourth grade.
Oh my God.
And I weighed like 90 pounds. And I just remember, I literally can tell you down to everybody's outfit. I remember sixth grade sitting at lunch. I wish I could just out this person's name, but
you still remember their name?
oh, I'll never forget.
Oh my God, that's wild.
And made fun of my laugh.
Your
And
laugh?
I literally went home and I like was so self-conscious and I was like, I can't ever laugh like that again. And I literally would practice how to laugh. And I'm still self-conscious. And it has stuck. And I remember, like I said, that sixth grade, what are you, 11? Like, oh, perfect age as a
about
girl.
11, 12.
And I already was like, so like, already like, okay, maybe I just need to be funny because look how big my head is. And like, I looked like a Bratz doll.
It's okay. I have a big head too.
Yeah, but you have like a nice narrow face. Mine looks like the moon. I could have eclipsed the sun this week.
Stop. You did not. You did not. Oh my God. I mean, we are our own worst critics.
Right. And like I said, I think little girls and women, it doesn't go away.
It doesn't.
We know what to say to her.
Be nice.
And I'm trying really hard to be a nice person.
Yeah. No, it really does stick with you. Most of us, I think it has a huge impact. And like with the pressures of the world and everything, we're already putting like all these, expectations on ourselves. So we don't need other people, especially other women, like putting us down or telling us we need to like look or comparing.
And I think too, like everyone, I forgot who I had this conversation with, but they were talking about being a stay-at-home mom, and now I'm kind of working, so not really. Well, it's still a stay-at-home mom, 90%.
Yeah.
I never had a single judgment from a guy.
Okay.
It was women saying either my 4 favorite lines: must be nice, I could never do that. And, but not in a nice way of saying that.
Okay.
And like, don't you want to work? And what was, and basically like saying like, that's not a real job.
Yeah.
And I go,
and that's like
and
attacking your lifestyle and your like,
well, and what we have to do.
Yeah.
And then I go, on the other hand, men would always be the opposite, saying like, hey, that's a really hard job you have to do. Like, I really commend it. Or,
yeah,
man, I wish I had the ability to have my wife be home a little more because I know she wants to, but I'm happy you're able to do it. Always in a positive life. And I don't know what it was with women. And I will admit, I was one of those women pre-kids.
Yeah.
Where I was like, would never.
Yeah.
What do they do during the day?
Yeah.
And now I go, what is... slap in the face to me.
But I mean, like, it just shows like you don't ever know like what someone else's life is like, or what their mind is like, or what they're dealing with, or whatever. So it's like, give people grace, like, be nice, and just realize like you live your life, they live yours. Like, you wouldn't want them judging you or putting you down. And so don't do it to others.
And I feel it's really sad to say, but I think it takes life experiences, good, bad, and probably mostly bad.
Amen.
For you to realize like a new perspective.
Amen. No, my mom and I were just talking about that on the phone earlier. And she was saying like with life, you gain experience, and like, not to backtrack too much, but just like with my brother and stuff, like we totally have, like I said, a different outlook on life and people because of that experience. And like, if we didn't go through that, then maybe we wouldn't be who we are right now. And so like, as much as, it was a very tragic thing, and like we miss my brother all the time, every day, and we love him, we miss him, it's still like you kind of have to try. You have to try to find the positive where you can. And for me, like, I want to say like that changed me as a person, and I think it changed every person in my family, and maybe even outside of my family.
Well, and I think too, speaking about it as openly as you have, I bet you are not alone on those thoughts.
Right.
Or people, and like we were talking about earlier, it's like life is, you don't know what you're getting dealt. And like, we're a family with a child with needs, and you look at the world differently, and you kind of take, look at what's important.
Yep.
And you go like, does this person fit in my life anymore?
Yeah.
And you kind of go negative, are they negative, whatever. And I just kind of go like, I don't know. I don't know. Like you organize your life a little bit differently. Right. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes
like
sense.
Your mom now is serving a lot of people, and that's her way of like,
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's putting that positivity out there, and it's kind of just letting like what impacted her. Like, I don't know. It's just taking a bad situation and trying to make it a good one. And
I think that's too, like, if you look at all these big foundations, that's usually the story's always the same. It's usually created from something, a tragic situation or a life-changing event. Yeah. And it's like, we want to make a difference now.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think the other big one too, and like, we don't have to like get on this topic, but I think another one too is, when someone is struggling, like, definitely reach out or try to get them help.
Yes.
Even if you feel like it's not your place, it's always reach out.
Right. Because you never know. Like, some people, might seem like they're surrounded by tons of friends and family, but you don't know really like who's truly there for them, or who's paying attention, or who's going to say something. Mm-hmm. So never think like, oh, it's okay, they got it, or it's handled, because you could be the very person that saves that person struggling.
And like, I think that just comes into like just regular check-ins. I don't care if like your loved ones don't have anything going on. Just call them.
Yeah.
Call your parents, call your brother, call your sister, call like your friends. Like, just be present in each other's lives. I think
Be present. That is a big one. And that's something I still like, I struggle with because, like I have a busy schedule. I have a busy life. And I kind of just like a couple of weeks ago came to this realization, like I had not kind of, yeah, a realization. I had an epiphany and I'm like, you know what? I literally like need to make more time for the people who are my people. Stop trying to put myself in places that aren't that important and really cherish the time I get with my loved ones and make more time.
Yeah.
Like I think this is truly, and yes, I've been diagnosed with ADHD. I think my ADHD kind of puts me like ahead of the moment. So I'm like always thinking in the future versus like in the present, and my mind's kind of going several different places. But I feel like living in the moment, like just taking a look around you, like really hearing what someone's saying to you, and enjoying that moment is huge. So just, make time for that. And yeah.
Yeah. I think too, like my big one this year is really stop caring so much about what other people think.
Yeah. That's a big
I think
one.
that pressure where I'm like, you know what, as long as the people in my life that I love and care about, I go, that those are my people. I need to stop putting so much effort into outside people where I'm like, who cares?
Like take away that pressure of the outside world.
It's not healthy.
It's not. And like that impacts your mental more than you think, for all of us.
Well, because you're typically usually faking a persona.
Yeah. And like even with me, just a little side note, like an example, when I go, let's just say to the gym, like I will not do certain, even now, like I'll be honest, do certain workouts because I'm like, oh, like I am afraid of like what that person like behind me is going to think, or what if I look silly, or what if I'm not doing the form right. But like if we didn't care so much about what people thought about us, then we would do a lot more, and our mental state probably wouldn't be so nervous or so.
You would be free.
You would be more free. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So I don't know. I think this has been like a really good episode, and I hope that people listening, got something out of it. That was kind of the goal, just to talk about things that aren't typically talked about, and just create a space where, you can listen and hopefully relate to at least something we talked about. And just like in your life, to everyone listening, just know, like if you are struggling, you can definitely, you can find someone who cares. Like I care. And even if I don't know, you can reach out to me. But I guarantee you somebody out there definitely cares, multiple people. And just don't be afraid to seek the help you need. Don't be afraid to talk about it, because I guarantee you someone out there is dealing with the same exact thing, someone you know. So.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah, you're not alone, and you're only human.
We got to make that t-shirt.
Yeah, I like that. Let's do that.
I really, this was a more serious episode, but like I said, it was a nice open conversation.
It was.
We're not doctors, but we can just talk about our situations and our opinions.
For sure.
But,
and then we'll provide some links and stuff for just like support groups and different information that can be helpful to anybody who may need it.
Yep. Sounds good. But
anyways, it's been good.
Hopefully the video actually works this time, since I messed it up last week.
Fingers crossed. But anyways, we are signing out. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.
Bye.